event, joined this evening by many of the organizations that are involved with us in our journey here to support music education across the country. A couple of things that we'll want to just go over, as you saw in the slide before, and we'll get another one back up, just a couple reminders that we have for you. We want to make sure that you change your name in the chat and just add your state, your name, and your organization. Introduce yourself into the chat. Please mute your audio when you're not speaking. And with that, I'm going to turn our presentation over to my good friend and colleague, Robin Hilger. So Robin, take it away, and I will get the slides going.
Terrific. Good evening, everyone. So we thought we might start just a little bit with how and why did we get here? So about 4 years ago, a group of us had breakfast at the Midwest Clinic. We actually all fit around one table at that time. And we asked ourselves, what would happen if we all worked together on the most important issues that are facing our sector? What would happen if we pooled our resources of time and effort and energy and we aligned where possible? And what kind of synergy could we just create with each other? Something more than any of us could achieve separately. So this is one of those things. The first work was actually focused on workforce development. We'll talk about some of that in just a bit, but out of that work came this larger realization about unified advocacy efforts, and that's the springboard for what music is. Advocacy work takes place at multiple levels, federal, state, and even locally. The focus of music is on strengthening our state and local efforts. It's not the federal isn't important. We need to do important work at all levels, but state is where the action is. The majority of funding is focused at the states, and this is actually where issues are showing up big time when it comes to our daily work, particularly as teachers right now. So in February and March of 2025, this coalition of folks, we launched a survey through all the coalition members and their membership to outreach to find out what was keeping our state leaders up at night. What were the most pressing issues and concerns around the country that were impacting arts education, and what could we do about it? So here's what we learned. The top concerns coming out across the country is, first of all, the decrease to state funding. 89% of our respondents expressed this concern. It was the actual most pressing concern. The narrowing of the curriculum, mandates that have to do with displacing arts courses with alternatives like financial literacy, CTE, and STEM. 78% of the membership identified this as an issue. Workforce development came in at 74% of our folks saying that they were concerned about preparation policies that prioritized other subjects and actually undervaluing how arts education develops skills that consistently are cited as critical by employers. So we're sort of missing out of that workforce development conversation. And then finally, the teacher shortage and teacher licensure issues that are springing up. So there's actually data to show you around this, and you can see very clearly the top concerns. And I'm going to tell you in a second where you can find all this data for yourself. So if you're rapidly taking notes, we actually have a report for you to be able to use. So hang tight, because this is a resources show, not only an information show today. So the key findings in the open responses when we were discussing with, looking at all the responses across the country, by the way, responses from 48 states. So we got almost everyone across the country responding. Funding and resources. There is consistent inequities across the board and increasing reliance on fundraising and grants. The graduation requirements. This is changing requirements, limiting credits, smashing credits into other things are important in the open responses. Teacher shortages, specifically related to recruitment and retention, that are limited by licensure barriers, especially in rural areas. And then those non-arts mandates, increased scheduling pressure from non-arts requirements that reduce the available time that students have to spend in music and arts instruction. So when we think about the non-arts mandates, These are perceived as systemic threats to arts education. They create scheduling and policy and participation challenges that diminish students' access to consistent arts education. So some of the things that were identified for us was school districts actually providing release time for religious education for students. So instead of taking a fine arts course, students are released from the school for specific religious education. I live in Oklahoma. We actually see that here. Shifts in graduation requirements. So where maybe you had a line item credit before for the fine arts, it may have gotten smushed in where you could take CTE and STEM and all these other things as opposed to having our dedicated line item, and then just complete removal of the requirement um, in graduation requirements totally. So our state leaders said their strategic priorities were going to be to protect the fine arts graduation requirements. We want to preserve those standalone credits in all the diploma pathways. They also told us that connecting arts and music ed to workforce development was critical, that we align arts education with the workforce development goals that we're seeing so that we are recognized for the work that already exists. We already provide so many of those critical skills that employers are looking for. And rebuilding the arts educator pipeline. So how can we expand alternative licensure, mentoring, and recruitment incentives for us to continue to build the workforce for teachers specifically? Strengthening state and local music and arts ed advocacy. So this is the stuff we're here for tonight. Equipping leaders with the messaging and tools and data and templates so that you can respond effectively when facing these challenges in your communities. And finally, advocacy for dedicated funding, earmarked funding at the state and district levels for the work that we're doing. And we said, well, what is it that you need? So the needs that came out, I think we've been talking about these things for a long time. Personalized mentorship and policy expertise, basically advocacy coaching. So I know these things are happening, but I don't know what to say or do about it. I don't know how to uh, direct my messaging in the most effective way. I don't know who I need to meet with or talk to about it. Maps and guidance. What are the funding pathways? What are the opportunities? Clarity on where these things are generated so that we're advocating in the right direction. Success stories that are aligned with the policy frameworks and messaging tools so that you have examples to show. Stronger state coalition collaboration. So just like we're doing at the national level, how can we group states together who are having like issues and organizations within states to build on the advocacy efforts that you have? And then finally, connecting our emerging and veteran leaders across the state. So for those identified needs, you've come to the right place this evening. So who's all involved? Who's at the table? Let's show you the list of organizations that have been doing this work. These are our planning group members. We are grateful for the hours and hours and hours that have been spent trying to figure out how do we get our arms around this big thing. There's probably a reason that the work has been difficult because it's just a lot. And I have to express my personal gratitude for them because I've learned so much. If you would like to join our efforts, Bob will show you, when we show you the website, Bob will show you where you can sign up to come on board with us and to be part of the movement. But thank you to our planning group members. Many of them are on the call tonight. And so how can you start your journey? How can you start this work with us? The first thing that we have done is we've launched a clearinghouse website called Music is Education. One of the challenges we even found ourselves as the steering group is there are all of these resources, but they all live in these disparate places. You have to actually know where to go and look to find them. The link breaks, it moves around. How do we get all of these tools in one place? So Music is Education is meant to be a clearinghouse, a one-stop shop for you. And Bob's going to give us a little scroll here so you can see just on the home page, there's some really basic advocacy information, So if you are sharing this website, you don't have to ask people to go very deep to get some very important information. They can find it on the homepage without clicking through 10,000 links. We have a section where we're going to talk about our AI assistant, Karl B, here in just a second. Bob will give us a tutorial there, and we will be advertising our upcoming webinars, always on the homepage, so you can see that over to the right. We have very easy click-through large boxes at the bottom. One of the things to know about how the website is organized is that we're organized essentially by level of government rather than by any specific state, or all the policy briefs are over here and all the templates are over here. If you're looking for something at the state level, click on that state resources button. If you're looking for more local level, this would be like your school district, school board, those kinds of things. Click on the local level resources because we've hubbed them together for you that way. We are trying to share out quotes. You can feel free to grab any of these that you see on the website to support your effort. And then, of course, we have our real-time quick stats and information that are scrolling at the bottom of the website. So a one-stop shop for you at Music is Education. Across the top, the About section will give you the information about the coalition. You can also click the button to contact us and then also to get involved. We would love for you to join us. The more, the merrier. Karl B will do here in just a second. And we have both planning group members and participating organizations. And I think scrolling on the list and saying, who is here that we already know that you can hook up with in your area is really important. And again, we're a group of people who just decided that we wanted to do important work together. I think we decided we were the group, the leaderless group, because we kind of switched leadership around in the organization as well, depending on who has the most expertise at the time. And so it's a really vibrant place to be. So check in if you see your MEA on there, you see ASTA, you see Music for All, check in with your groups, and let's get everybody involved with Music as Education. Finally, on the advocacy side, on the state advocacy page here, at the bottom of this very first paragraph where it says you can read the report, that's where all the initial statistics came from. I encourage you to click on that link, and that is the data report for the state survey that just happened in February and March. So if you are interested in those stats and more, be sure to use that link. And then, of course, there are a ton of resources already embedded within the state resources page. It's the same for the local resources page. And funding opportunities, we're going to talk about today a music student here in just a second. But again, other advocacy efforts that are happening at the local level and unified art statements. Again, anything that's here, the coalition is sort of vetted for its clarity, its content. You can rely on these resources to get you where you want to go. And if you need a resource on something and we don't have it, you should tell us about it so that we can find the information for you. There are funding opportunities that are available. Again, we continue to build the resources. So if you have a resource that should be added, be sure to tell us. The Get Involved page is where you can sign up. And then I said very early on that this body of work sort of sprang out of initial work around careers in music and workforce development. So there are two sort of tiers here. Teachmusic.org is specifically related on recruiting people into the teaching profession. Again, just like we were finding with advocacy resources, there was sort of no one hub of a place to find how to do this thing called teaching. I don't know if so many of you probably came into it the way that I did, which is, thank goodness I had a great music teacher that when I said, I think I might want to do this, helped me because I'm the first musician in my family and the first teacher in my family. My family didn't even know about auditions or any of those things. So we continue to build the Teach Music resources bank to help students enter the profession. And then the larger umbrella with that is with NAM and the NFHS, which previews many, many different careers in music, not just being a music teacher, but all kinds of things in the creative industry, as well as engineering. We've tried to kind of hub up what we believe is sort of the best list of careers in music across the board. And then, of course, we have the NAFME, MTPI initiative that we certainly hope that you will take a look at the initiative that's happening there as well. So I'm going to turn it back to Bob here so that he can preview Karl B, which we think is one of the best resources that has been built, and we hope that we're building a resource that everyone can use. Again, this is just a start. We hope that having come to the webinar today that you will share resources with us and will tell us what we need to add or other things that you're looking for so that we can continue to build those. Thanks, everybody. Bob, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Robin. Great job. And again, these are resources. This is the very beginning. So this is the beginning of the development of these resources. So any ideas, suggestions, needs that you may have, or contributions to the resources that you want to make, we'll certainly be able to take those on. But next, we want to introduce you to Karl B. And everyone goes, well, who is Karl B? Well, Karl B is named after Karl Brun. Karl Brun was a senior executive at the Yamaha Corporation of America, largely credited for helping to build the Yamaha in the United States, particularly their piano division, before he was the senior executive overseeing all of Yamaha Corporation. But when he retired from Yamaha, he became NAM's first director of market development. And that was the push that NAM got involved with back in 1989 to make a move more into advocacy and market development work. And he's recognized as really the father of the modern day music education advocacy movement. So that's why we named it after Karl, because a lot of what you're learning, a lot of what you've been taught and what you have shared are things that Karl actually pioneered back in the late 80s and early 1990s. And I was fortunate enough to follow Karl at NAM as the second director of market development. I worked closely with him, and everything that I know about advocacy, I learned from him, and he's probably forgotten more about advocacy than I'll ever know. So a great person to be involved. But one of his great Karl-isms that he would like to share, and I think it's really important for what we're trying to do here with these resources and through the whole coalition effort. And that is to understand that people care. They often don't know how to care effectively, right? So you have people that are passionate, they're eager, they're anxious, but they don't know how to take and turn that passion into effective advocacy, into caring effectively for something that they care about. So what is this Karl B kind of chatbot? Well, Karl B is your music advocacy assistant. He is built on a custom-built knowledge base that drives him based on 30, 40, 50 years of advocacy work. And he can help with letters and speeches and talking points and research and advocacy planning and developing an advocacy coalition in your community or your state. And he can even role play, or allow you to interact with him, to have a conversation and try to convince somebody about the particular point that you're trying to make. So Karl B resides on the website, and right under the tab that says Ask Karl B. And so this first link here will take you actually to a page on the NAM website where there's some videos that Karl, one of the great things that NAM has done is they do video archives of a lot of industry leaders, and they talk about their career and contributions. This page has several videos that Karl did over the years, so you can learn more about him. But we've also developed a user guide. So you can click on the user guide link, and there's a user guide that will walk you through how to ask questions, how to interact, what are some of the ways that interacting with a chatbot, how can you make it as effective as possible? And if you're doing something and you run into a problem, there's always a feedback form. So you can always provide a feedback to the information that you receive from Karl B. And one of the things that I think will be helpful to understand in looking at it is once you come over here on the Karl B page, you'll get a window and it asks you to accept this disclaimer. And so when we look to the disclaimer, you just accept it. If you want, you can read the terms and policies, but this will bring you to Karl. And initially, we have some prompts that are preloaded. So these are preloaded prompts that one says, how can you help me advocate for music and arts education? Or draft a short speech for a school board meeting, or advocate for meeting to advocate for music and arts education, or help me write a letter or a policy to a policymaker supporting music and arts education, or provide a research summary. And so what you can do is you can start with one of these prompts or come up with your own. So if you're a novice and you've not worked with one of these, you can certainly try that. So we're going to try it, and we're going to ask for research-based summary on academic and workforce skills and academic impact. And what it will now do is you see it's thinking, it's going back into its knowledge base, and when it's done, it will then present us with the overview of information. And so it talks about the academic benefits, it talks about workforce and 21st century skills, it talks about emotional and social benefits, it talks about economic impact, and we may say, please focus on workforce skills, and let's see, economic impact data for New Jersey. Oh, since I'm from New Jersey, I get to do that. So here it begins thinking, and that was a prompt that I just made up here. It's now thinking through, and now it then comes back focusing on workforce skills. It provides us with the economic information that we asked for. It then provides a citation. I can then say, turn this into a letter to the governor of New Jersey. And so what it will do is it'll now go back and think, and it may or may not pick up on my corrections. So here you have a letter now that's written to the governor of New Jersey about why music education is important and the economic impact that the arts have on our community. So that's some of the ways that you can interact, but I want to take you behind the scenes because I think it's important to understand what is really behind the scenes here, and also what data are we gathering. So this is really important. So what you're seeing here is the back end. So Karl B is actually, it's not a pre-built chatbot. This is actually a custom-built chatbot. For those folks that are into AI, it's actually using an API connecting directly to ChatGPT, where we're managing the knowledge base and the interactivity. But the web interaction is actually being done through Perplexity, because we found that Perplexity has a better way of interacting with the web resources. So it will work with its internal knowledge base. If it doesn't find it there, it will then go out to Perplexity to find additional information. But this is all the data that's gathered. We gather the date and we gather a conversation ID. There's no IP address. There's no way of knowing who you are, where you're from, or any of that nature. It's all very, very confidential. We're just gathering this information so that we can learn how to make the tool better. And one of the examples that somebody put in last week that I thought was really cool that I want to share with you is this example here. So this is the conversation, and this is what we get to see on the back end. The question was, how can you help me help my teaching be more culturally responsive? And so all of a sudden you got the assist that Karl B came back and talked about, how can I make this more culturally responsive? And then the person said, please draft a sample culturally responsive music lessons for fifth graders in New Jersey. And then Karl B said, great, give me some more specifics. And it says, please align with fifth grade standards and diverse musical traditions. And then you see this where it says tool call, that allows our developers to look to see how it's interacting with the data that it's querying to come back and provide the information. And then what you see is a New Jersey fifth grade standards aligned lesson plan on exploring diverse musical traditions from standards alignment, material needs, lesson plans, etc. So even though it's an advocacy bot, it is capable of doing lots of other things. One of the other things that I wanted to show you is you saw the letter that we did. You have the copy button right here. So when it's done, you can just copy and paste it or export what's been created so that you can put it into your own work and use it with the things that you are working with at that level. So those are the things that we've been doing with Karl B. A couple of other things to keep in mind is that you should just go out and take Karl for a spin. Just start experimenting, start working with it. And it's important to be iterative, meaning that you're not always going to get the right response the first time. And the whole idea is when you're iterative is to continue to ask it additional questions, refine it. So as you saw in that example, the teacher was asking for, making something culturally responsive, and the chatbot said, well, can you give me more information, like what grade or what kind of particular topic area? And so when the educator put that information in, then the chatbot went to work. So there's a lot of things that you could do, but I encourage you to experiment with it and see how you can make the most of it. But the other thing that we wanted to share with you is something that you can also do right away. And that is to take advantage of this Today a Music Student, Tomorrow campaign. And it's also a Yesterday a Music Student, Today a blank. And this was developed by Arts Ed New Jersey back in 2015, and it was part of their Arts Ed Now campaign. And theirs was Today an Art Student, Tomorrow a blank. And so we got permission from Arts Ed New Jersey to kind of adapt it to this particular campaign, and that's what we've developed for your use here. So this information you can find on the local advocacy page. Just by going there, you'll see the link, and that will bring you over to the area. But a couple of things that we want to share with you about this, so you know, is you have the students actually put their name, write their name in underneath that, where it says Today a Music Student, Tomorrow, whatever it is that they want to be. And you can then put this up on a wall. And you can see that all of the different types of careers that the students are interested in. Because it's no secret that we know the vast majority of the students that we teach, they're not going into music. They're going into other things. And the whole idea that we're trying to do here is to communicate to everybody that we're not teaching music to teach music and to create musicians. We're teaching music to create great people. And the only way to demonstrate that is sometimes to create these type of visuals that you're seeing here. So you can do this tomorrow with your students, and you can put these up in the hallway, and it will really turn some heads when they see how these are being used. But in addition to that, we have Yesterday a Music Student, Today a, and this is something that you can use with the adults. And when they used it in New Jersey, here are some of the people that they were able to highlight. And on your far left, upper left-hand corner, that's one of our state senators and the executive director of our state arts council. Moving top row over, you see that, I'm going to get my head out of the way here. Moving over, you see Tom Kean, former governor and chair of the 9/11 Commission. John Schreiber, head of the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. Then we've got the executive director of NJPBS. And then down in the bottom left-hand corner is a billionaire philanthropist who supports a lot of the arts. Next to him, moving to the right, is Sir Ken Robinson. And then David Bryan from Bon Jovi. And then next to him is the iconic tap dancer, Savion Glover. So again, this is something you can do in your community where if you know of folks that have been involved in music or in their background, you can ask them to put together one of these signs. And I think that you'll find that it's a very effective way to work with folks in your community. So again, it reinforces that idea that this isn't about creating musicians, this is about creating successful adults. And that's what it is that we're trying to communicate here. So with that, you've just heard us talk for about 35 minutes in going over the rationale behind this, what we've learned, some of the things that we've been working on, some of the tools that we've been dealing with. But what we want to do now, and James, you can go ahead and unpin my screen at this point in time. We want to open it up for a conversation. We want to hear from you. What are you experiencing? What have you heard that resonates with you? What might be happening in your state where you may need some additional support? So you can raise your hand using the raise hand function. I know that we've got many of our project team leaders here with us as well, so they'll be able to chime in. So we're going to open it up right now for the next 15 minutes or so, just so that we can have a conversation to hear what your issues are, what your needs are. So Anne, go ahead and take it away.
Well, I think we have Teja from India. Is that correct?
Yes, and yes,
Thank you.
I'm connecting with you all from India. Hi, everyone. Good evening to you, and good morning to myself. Yes, and thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful for this. I'm a music neuroscientist. So basically, what I've understood is that there is a lack of recognition of the effect of music education in the lives, of people, in the mental health and the neurological significance that it is carrying forward. So March 2018, I came up when I was researching certain things. I understood a very simple but important fact. If you connect the 5 lines of the treble clef to the 5 fingers of the right hand, and if you connect the 5 lines of the bass clef to the left hand, 5 lines and 5 lines, 5 lines, 5 fingers, and 4 spaces gaps, you would get no sequence if you keep your hands normally. But if you cross your hands, there is a perfect sequence. Okay. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. It's a perfect sequence that it happens. So based on that, I developed this hypothesis that the grand staff notations is actually mimicking the functioning of the central nervous system. It is mimicking the contralateral control of the brain. That is, the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, and the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. Apparently, this was never introduced in the last 800 years. And the moment I started proposing this to researchers like Dr. David Aquilo, and there's another researcher, another team from University of Waikato, New Zealand, the reception to it was very positive. And I believe that this kind of a proof is a much needed entity into music education, where we can actually showcase and say, hey, there is actually a scientific proposal that is coming, that is being worked. And this will actually bridge the gap between the lack of understanding that governments across the world, governments or organizations or even corporates, for them to understand the power of music education. And yeah, and I just wanted to put this across to everybody who is so learned here. So nice to connect with you all. And yeah.
So Teja, do you have a link to the information that maybe you could drop into the chat that you could share with the group, or something that you could send to us that we may be able to share outwards, depending on where you are in the process?
Yes, so I'm trying to send a little picture here. Is there a permission to send a picture here in the chat?
Not sure if you can upload or if you can drop a link into the chat. You may be able to drop a file in, see if it'll work.
Actually, Robin, I can drop a file.
I don't believe you can, but
Okay.
absolutely. Or you could join us and then email us with that specific folder link. If you
Let
go to
me
the
do one
graphics
thing.
page. Yeah.
If you can just give me a second, I just gave you this link. because I've uploaded it in my website as well.
I posted the website link for everyone in the chat.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Robin.
in that website link that is still under development. Thank you so much, Robin. That was kind of you, but I'm adding you my first website link where I had actually yeah. So if you check this link that I've just now posted, you can actually see a pictorial representation of the same, where I'm proposing this as a scientific hypothesis that people can learn, understand the power of music education. And I'm not saying that I went back in the 14th century and worked with the theorists to say that, hey guys, let it actually mimic the contralateral control of the brain. No, I didn't do that. But this is just a scientific proposal because it actually makes sense right now. Why? The question mark, why is music education like piano playing and sight reading so beneficially good for the brain, and how is it neurologically significant? Apparently, there are at least 30 longitudinal studies, so many meta-analyses done across a period of 3 to 5 years, but the much needed push is not there as a recognition for these music studies. And this detailing or this picture, I believe holds the key to say that, hey guys, finally we have the proof. So you are all learned minds. I'm from a different background. I'm a bioinformatician and a clinical statistician for PCS. I was trying to teach a child, someone like my niece, and she was literally crying, not knowing how to read the treble and the bass clips and struggling to read the grand stuff. That's when I thought, okay, fine, let me come up with a fun idea as to how to approach this. But then I had this eureka moment. So I leave it up to you, learned minds, to actually guide me through, because I need guidance here as well. So thank you again. I'll mute myself now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this information that we can connect with, and hopefully you can also join our group to support this with your research as well. Bob?
Other questions? So we've got about 10 minutes Q&A, discussion points, anything that you are experiencing in your community or anything that you've heard that you want to respond to. This is open for you all. So just raise your hand with a little button, or flail your arms in front of your camera. That also works.
And feel free to type it in the chat if you'd prefer as well.
I'm shocked such a quiet group this evening. You can't all be that tired. Or you could be, actually.
It was just well explained, Bob, with lots of resources.
I also wonder in the chat if people are thinking, I wonder if they have this. I wonder about this resource. What about this or that? If you're thinking about needs that you have, if you can connect in the chat with those, you may shine a light on something that we haven't planned for yet that we need to develop, or we can connect with you and send you something directly that you need.
Yeah, I want to read what's in the chat. This is from Teresa. Hoping to learn more to advocate the value of elementary music education, because there's so much research focused on band and orchestra. I'm assuming you're talking band orchestra in the secondary space. Bob, you want to talk about elementary?
Yeah, I mean, that's God's work. I mean, that's where it all begins. And I think that we do have, information and resources that can be used effectively that way. Even though a lot of stuff have been historically targeted at the secondary level, there is a lot of really good information, solid information that we're utilizing to support all aspects of music education. It's not just secondary, and it's certainly not just high school, because education's built from the bottom up. Show me an excellent secondary school program, and I will show you a really strong elementary program that's feeding into it.
Yeah.
So it really goes hand in hand. We're talking about focusing on this for all students at all grade levels, and engaging in whatever way works for them. It's all about getting all the I often talk about opening all the doors and windows to let everyone in. They don't just have to come in through the front door sometimes.
And we know that at elementary, those teachers teach every student, whereas in middle and high school, it is often elective, chosen by those students in that room. So they truly are teaching that entire school at that level. They have a great deal of information that can be gathered.
I wonder if Teresa would,
Mark,
oh, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Bob. I wonder if Teresa would consider asking Karl B. So Teresa, if you put that exact prompt, literally exactly what you typed into Karl B, you're actually going to get some resources and then some ability to tile down. So that's a great example. Thank you so much. It's difficult to copy and paste into the chat, so I just offer that to Teresa.
Yes, Mary, it actually has arts information in there currently. So we actually have, it is, you know, a lot of this was inspired by the focus to develop this for music, but it's not exclusive. It's not music only. I don't want you to think that. There's a lot of information in there across all of the disciplines. There's data across all of the disciplines as well. But when it comes to a lot of the research information, it's certainly heavy on the music side, but there is information there, you know, that supports the other activities or the other arts disciplines as well. And you can tailor it as you go in and ask it specific questions, you know, regarding that information. And it will search at first it will search its own knowledge base because that's what it's been trained to for security purposes. We want to make sure that it's just not making things up, or you've heard about hallucinations. One of the ways to get around that is by having a lockdown knowledge base the way that we do. So it'll start with that knowledge base. But if you want to develop an arts advocacy campaign for your community or for your state, it will develop the strategies and outline suggestions based on whatever your specific needs are. The goal here is really to allow and I was talking to somebody about this last week. There are a handful of folks that have been doing music advocacy for an extended period of time, and that's all they do. That's just kind of part of their job. Whether it's, you know, Tim Lotzenheiser was certainly one of them. Karl was one of them. Kathy Welling. Marcia is one of them on this call. Marcia Neal, you know, cut from the same cloth. You know, we're not always available. You know, people, oh, I wish I had somebody to talk to, or how do I get access to the resources, the information, or I really wish I knew what was available. The whole idea behind Karl B was to give you that opportunity, to give you that resource at your fingertips, so you're not having to wait for me or Timur or Marcia or somebody, or if you're trying to get information and you want to get, you know, music education information and Amanda's not available or Jasmine is not available, you know, this is a resource that can at least get you started. May not answer all of your questions, but it will get you started. And like anything, it's new and it's learning. And the more we train it, the more we develop it, the more information that we get, the more feedback we get from users, the better it becomes. So, you know, I like to say I'll steal this from James Stevens. This is the worst version of Karl B that you'll ever interact with, because from here on in, it will only get better and better. Other questions?
Bob,
Go
we have
ahead.
one in the chat about expanding into other arts. Will there be more overarching arts information?
I just hit that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, Marcia, the stuffs have echoes of Music Makes the Difference, because that's where all of this started, back with the National Commission and the National Coalition for Music Education, you know, which kind of really was the beginning of the what I term as the modern music education advocacy movement, that period of time. Any other questions before we move on? Because we do have some other updates and some other information that we wanted to share, but I wanted to make sure that we made plenty of space for you before we moved into some of our updates before we wrap things up. Oh wait, are we engaging with the State Superintendents and School Boards Association? not yet. I mean, not as part of this particular work. Right now we've been focused on getting things organized just for within our own team here. But that is certainly a good idea and an opportunity that we can certainly exploit. Any other questions? All right, then seeing none, we're going to move on to some of the updates. We have some national updates and we also have some state-specific updates. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the slideshow and we're going to turn it over to Amanda and Jasmine to give us an update on what's happening with the states or with the national issues and some of the state issues.
Great, thanks, Bob. We'll make this pretty quick because I know it's been a lot to digest this evening, but wanted to give you a quick update about what is happening with federal appropriations and education funding and how that may impact your schools. So this slide just shows you where we are in the timeline. And as you can see, we only have hours until the fiscal year ends. The latest news that we're hearing out of Washington is that the president did meet with congressional leaders this afternoon, with both Democrats and Republicans. They have not yet come to agreement on any kind of a continuing resolution to extend the funding past that October 1st deadline. So it does seem that we may be a government shutdown is looming. So what does that mean for education? And not much for K-12 education because most districts received their funding for this school year back in August. There is still some funding for title programs that's supposed to go out on October 1st, and we have heard that that money still will go out to districts as planned, even though the department in their shutdown plans will be furloughing about 95% of their staff and really only keeping the folks who service student loans and financial aid on board if there is a government shutdown on Wednesday. We can go to that next slide. So just where we were up until now, we only had the House and Senate committees consider their bills for education. So this gives you an idea of where funding currently stands, what was in the president's budget proposal, and then what came out of the House and Senate bill. And you can see that the Senate bill's numbers were far better than what we got out of the House or the president's budget. These are all the programs that can be used to support a well-rounded education that includes music and the other arts disciplines. The two that I am most worried about on this chart are Title II, which is the funding that school districts can use for teacher and school leader retention, preparation, mentoring programs, and professional development, and also the Assistance for Arts Education program. Grantees were in year 5 of their funding for that program this school year, and we've already heard that at least 9 of those organizations have gotten non-continuation notices for the grant. Only 5 that I've heard of did receive their year 5 funding, so very concerned about the future of that program. If you go to the next slide, NAFME and NAM have a joint advocacy campaign. We are going to continue to contact Congress, urge them to support these programs as part of any kind of final funding bill for FY 2026. So whether that means they're shut down and we continue to contact them, or whether there is a continuing resolution through the end of November, we will know more by midnight tomorrow. But in the meantime, I hope that you will click on the QR code, send a message to your members of Congress, and be sharing this information out with your networks. I am now going to turn this over to my colleague Jasmine to talk about some state issues.
Hi, everyone. So next slide, please. Thank you. Some great news coming out of some states that I would like to share. Massachusetts recently was able to introduce the Lowell Mason Arts Education Equity Act, and this bill is actually modeled after Prop 28, which was successful in California. This bill would mandate a 1% increase in state funding to be used for arts education, including dance, media arts, music, theater, and visual arts. And this bill is currently in the Joint Committee for Education. And I think I saw Tony Beatrice, who's a part of the work to get that bill introduced. That's on the call. So hi, Tony. Next slide, please. Fantastic. All right, so the New York, yay, thanks, Tony. The New York Senate approved legislation earlier this year that would require instruction in arts and music education be incorporated into the curriculum for all public school students. This bill has been introduced in the past, but we found that one of the hurdles was getting it passed in the Senate. So it started in the Senate. Now our advocates are working on the assembly side. This bill would require the Board of Regents to establish standards for dance, music, theater, media arts, visual arts, and studio arts. And it would also require that these classes be taught by a certified teacher, if possible. And next slide, please. Fantastic. All right. Also, this summer, the North Carolina House of Representatives included a proposed K-5 performing and visual arts requirement in the state budget. This was actually a bill that was introduced earlier this year. It did not make it to crossover, so champions in the state legislature were able to have it included in the state budget. It would direct school boards to provide K-5 students with instruction for both performing and visual arts. And you can also see the specific list of criteria. Right now, there is not a budget that has been currently approved, but we are hoping with fingers crossed that the budget will be approved and include this proposed bill that would require K-5 performing and visual arts requirement for those students. Next slide, please. And then lastly, the final policy update I'm going to share is ongoing in Illinois. This was the only state to include a fine arts indicator in its state ESSA plan after the passage of the Every Student Succeeds Act in 2015. A new redesign of that state accountability plan is underway, and there was discussion regarding the removal of that fine arts indicator from the accountability system. NACME was able to assist arts advocates in creating an advocacy campaign to help advocates communicate the importance of having the fine arts indicator with the Illinois State Board. And as of a couple of weeks ago, there are continuing strategy meetings that are happening in between the Illinois State Board and advocates to support music and arts education in Illinois. So fingers crossed about that one as well. Here is a list of the campaigns that we have. I'm going to put a link to NAFME's advocacy grassroots. Oh, where did my chat go? There it is. Our Grassroots Advocacy Center allows advocates, whether they are music teachers or just public members, to contact their federal and state legislatures. So if you live in Massachusetts, New York, or North Carolina, these are our open campaigns, but you can access them in that link that I just shared. And that is all I have. Turning it back over to Bob. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much for that. And a couple other updates that we want to share with you. The National Federation of State High School Associations, NFHS, is currently conducting their teacher satisfaction survey. The deadline for responses is, I believe, October the 15th. So they provided us with the survey link and the survey dashboard, so you can grab the link from the QR codes here and to share both in your community and across your states. I know they're trying to, last year they had over 3,000 participants. I think they're trying to get to that number or higher. So we would encourage everyone to please share this information out amongst your networks. And then the last update that we have is from NAM. NAM is going to be hosting their Support Music webinar on October 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. There is a QR code that will take you directly to the Zoom registration link, so you can register for that particular seminar as well. And we want to make sure that everyone was aware of that. So that'll be coming up, and that's, I believe, 3 weeks from tonight. So before we move on, I want to open it up to any of our planning group members for any updates or comments that they want to share with folks that maybe we haven't hit on. You can just unmute yourself and jump right in if you have an update that you want to share. And seeing none, then we're at the top of the hour. Again, this is the Music Is Coalition. The website is musiciseducation.org. Be sure to get out there and kick the tires on all the resources that are available. Please provide feedback. Please provide information on resources that you may have that you don't see or that we have not included. And also take the time to take Karl for a spin and see what he can do. Try to stump him. And again, provide feedback with the feedback form. Any information that you provide to us will only help us make it better for everyone else. And again, this is for the long haul, so we'll be continuing to develop the website. We'll be continuing to develop the chatbot and working with all of you to help provide you with the tools and resources necessary to successfully deal with the year ahead when it comes to state level policy and ensuring that more and more people understand the fundamental role that music education plays in the lives of all of our students. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you to Anne for navigating everybody. Thank you to Robin for a great presentation. Thank you to all of the planning committee members. And last but not least, thank you to all of you for joining us here this evening. We will be getting a sequence of dates posted probably before the end of the month of our next series of webinars. We want to make sure that our webinars are complementary with the schedules that other organizations have. So we'll be getting the next year worth of dates out before the end of October. So again, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you on the next webinar. And remember that music is education.
Good job. Good job, Bob. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks, Anne. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Robin.
Great to see you, Marcia.
Good to
Good
see
to
you,
see you,
Marcia.
James.
Yeah. Bye.
Good job, everyone.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.